Hello again, my friends. Once more, welcome back to Leopard Street. Welcome back to the cellar. This one, we're going to have a look at some mistakes I have made on this layout. There have been many. We're going to have a look at one of them, one sort of category of them today, with a view of how can we possibly not make similar mistakes again. And while I'm doing that, Thomas is being really useful with Clarence the cleaning coach, and the G5 is rattling around in the background. Anyway, without further ado, this is Leopard Street. So, mistakes. There have been a few. The phrase mistakes were made is almost the watchword for this layout. What can we do about it and where are we going to start? Well, this part, the location. Leopard Street is in a cellar. You'll know that from the intro, and to be honest, looking around, you can sort of see it. I've mentioned it a few times. This is a good location for a layout. It was a conscious decision made here because there were a few alternatives. The garage here at Leopard Street needed the best part of £15,000 worth of work doing to it. So while it's a much larger location, it's 16 foot square, it's a double garage. If you can believe it, the ceiling's lower than it is here. Walking in, the ceiling is about this sort of height. It's an old stable that's been extended. It needs a new roof, it needs rewiring. Wasn't going to happen. The loft was another option. That has again got a low ceiling. In fact, it's even lower than this. It's now recently been boarded, but you can't actually stand up there. So that was a non-starter. Plus, loft layouts, temperature issues. Forget about that. The other option was down here, the cellar. And after I got the quote for the roof on the garage, at which point I just laughed, that was when down here started. About 2 years ago, two and a bit years ago. A bit further back than that, actually, thinking about it. Yeah, it was further ago, before I started the channel. Down here has an advantage. If I pick this little thing up, you can see, I can angle that rightly, you can see it. The temperature down here is 20.6 degrees. That's what it says. Now, in the really hot weather we've had, down here got to the dizzying heights of 22. And in winter, it doesn't go much below about 14, 15. You get to the point, maybe I want to put a jumper on, but it's not too bad. It's a cellar, it's part of the house. The weather outside can be atrocious. I can just walk down the stairs. Brilliant. So we have a cellar. That was decided to be the location. That was the easy bit. That was good. That was good. Also down here, I wasn't really doing a lot. I mean, you can see behind me the desk and the shelf above it. This went in about 6-7 months before I decided to put the layout down here. It was put up as somewhere to put 3D printers, store the gubbins that goes with it. At the same time, I also did around here. Have a little look. You can see shelving, lots of boxes, and if you can recognise the models, leave a comment in the description if you recognise any of this. There's stuff down there, and yeah, there's lots of it. Anyway, so location-wise, we have space. Down here is actually, it's not a bad space. It's about 13 and a bit foot that way, and if I had to guess, about 11 foot that way. 2 foot of it's gone with the desk, so I had space down here. So I thought, I'm going to make a railway layout in my cellar. That was the good bit. That was where the problem started. Let's have a little look. So here I've gone back into sort of hand camera mode. Really just so we can have a look around. when I started down here, the walls were just bare brick. So my planning process, such as it was, basically was I'll paint the walls, I'll clean the floor, and I'll put up a false ceiling that I can put some lighting in. There used to be 2 strip lights, one of which lurks in the corner down there. Basically, there was a strip light across there, and I think the other one was about here. And they lit the place up, but it was dark, it was dingy down here. As you can see, when I did the desk, I did this side, put up some plywood panelling. This side is painted. We'll come on to why that side isn't in a minute. But I thought, that'll do. I mean, that's fine. What else could possibly go wrong? Well, I didn't really think it through. As you may have seen a few episodes ago, or quite a few episodes ago, I've got an N-gauge layout called Dingleberry. N-gauge layout is 2.5 foot wide and 4 foot long, size to fit on my desk. The original scope for down here was basically actually to rebuild Dingleberry, originally in N-gauge, but bigger. And my mind was doing what a lot of us do when we're thinking model railways. I was thinking about a model railway. I wasn't thinking about the location. For example, the scary teal door, what's beyond there? Well, there's actually another room. It's about 12 foot long, looking from where we are, and about 6 foot wide. It starts about there, and it goes about 5-6 foot that way. Then it goes along again. I think maybe about 5 foot. You can see where the join in the bricks is there. That's about where the other wall starts. Now, this house is late 1800s. It was built as a farmhouse. It served as a pub, as most houses in Yorkshire seem to have for a while. This bit here was the barrel run. So it goes back, probably longer than 12 foot actually. It goes back under the kitchen, out to the back, and there's a hatch. Now, it's got a brick floor. Down here, you can see little bits of it down there. Down here's a concrete floor. I put floor tiles over it. So I took one look in there and thought, oh, God, that's a lot of work. I shut the door, padlocked it, and I've never been back in. There's a lot of rubbish in there that would need clearing out. Didn't think it through. You see, in there, if I'd have spent some time on it, spent a bit more time with planning, could have been quite a useful little space, because I've got the door. Now, obviously, the layout would have to be narrower because I'd have to be able to get in through the door. But I could do that. I could get in there, even if it was just storage sidings. It'd be useful. Even if it was just shelves, it'd be useful. Didn't plan ahead far enough. And as you can see, access into there is somewhat limited. If I had to, I could get in there. The layout does come apart. We'll do an episode at some point on the baseboards. But that is, yeah. I didn't clear down here properly first. Down here, it was messy. And if I stand back over here, I'd cleared this bit of the floor to about where the layout is. Maybe where the carpet tile join is. It's about where the layout is. You sort of see it down the far end. You can see the different type of carpet tile. I'd cleared there. I've got carpet tiles. This bit around here was clearer because that was where I put the stool for the desk. Job done. Over here, where the layout now stands, was just rubbish. I mean, some people might say nothing's changed. Some cruel, unkind people will ignore the clutter underneath. There was a lot of dirt down here. I mean, there's still... We come down here, and you can see my pile of plywood in the corner. You might be able to see it a bit better if I go there. That big black lump, that's a boiler. That's the old coal-fired central heating boiler that this house had. That went many years before we started. When we moved in that alcove, go down here, see under where the workbench and stuff is, there was a gas boiler in there. Bits of this pipe work went over to it. There's pipe work in the corner. That was decommissioned when we moved in. To start with, I left it there because I wasn't thinking ahead. So down here was a bit of a mess. I started clearing bits of it. My first thought, naively, was I'll paint the walls. That's easy. I can paint walls. Got myself a thing of white masonry paint. My youngest had already actually made a start on it. He had painted, before I put the desk in, he had painted this wall. Bless him, he had plans to turn this place into a little bit of a den, but I sort of took over from him. Unless anybody think this is child cruelty, he's currently 25 and in the army. So, yeah. All that car cleaning stuff over there is his. As is a big mound of rubbish over there, but never mind. So I got some paint and some brushes, and I cleaned the walls. I actually went at it with a wire brush, not on a drill. I just did it by hand. It was easier. Made a hell of a lot of mess. And I did that wall, the alcove, went round. The centre of that alcove was missed out because there was a boiler in the way. Alex had already done over that bit because he wanted to use those shelves. I did it again. He'd already done the alcove again. That got done. This wall over here got done. Brilliant. Looked a lot nicer down here. Floor was still a mess. What I was doing at this point was moving mess around. I did get rid of a lot of it, but not all of it. Again, I was rushing. This is a problem here. I was rushing. There's a few other things I had down here. I forgot about humidity. It's a cellar, so it gets damp. Meet my friend. This is, yeah, we can open this out. A Monhouse, whatever it is, model dehumidifier. It runs pretty much 24/7, and it drags less in winter. So at the moment it's dragging about 5-6 litres of water a day out of the air, but it controls the dampness down here. Now if I come around to my shelves, see, this is something I didn't realise. You can see on here on some of the shelves, there's a good example up there, bit of mould. Now that mould isn't getting any worse since I put the dehumidifier down here. Bare plywood down here attracts mould. Dehumidifier has cured that, but I didn't realise that was going to be a problem when I started. Basically because I wasn't thinking about it. G5 wandering around over there. So that was, again, a little bit of a planning fail. If I'd have realised that in the first place, I mean, I'd just got a dehumidifier. I'd just got it early on, and it would have been down here, and it would probably help drying the paint and everything down here as well. Incidentally, you can see the paint is yellowing. The cellar isn't tanked out. Not for once because I'm too cheap to do it, but because if I did, it would have raised the floor level, and the high ceiling would be probably around where this one is, and this ceiling would be even lower, and it would have just made down here impractical to use. Now there is ventilation, there's a vent over there. So that's what we've got. Now if I'd have cleared the place first, life would have been much simpler. But I wanted to build a model railway. I didn't want to clear a cellar. So that's how we got. Lighting. Now, we'll come back to the lighting, but as you can see, I fitted lighting. Initially, those two spotlights and those two. The ceiling stopped at this point. I hadn't done this side. Because, to be honest, I got bored by that point. Didn't occur to me just how awkward it was going to be to do the rest of it with a layout underneath. This led to, I think probably about a year and a half ago, I had to take the whole layout apart. Well, I say whole layout. The 3 boards across the end stayed. The middle board didn't exist at that point. These 2 boards here went into the middle. These came in and went across, and it sort of worked. And I got that done. I put the rest of the lighting up. Lighting was, I want some lights. Now, I'd already used these, which are LED, the brightness. These are LED spotlights. The ones over the layout are slightly different, but I've got a pack of them. And I wired them all together. Yeah, again, failure of planning. If I'd been thinking the layout side lights and these lights would be on a different switch. I mean, possibly these don't come on unless these lights are on, but I've given it a separate switch. It would be nice to be able to control them separately. So I could, for example, run the layout in dark mode with the lighting off and have these lights over here dimmable. These are not dimmable lights because I didn't plan ahead. This is a common theme you're going to notice here, is lack of planning. Now, I probably could, if I can get ones that are the same size, gradually swap these out for red, green, blue, white controllable lights, which I'd quite like to do. This is one of the consequences. That one is something I can do something about, maybe. You'll also notice bare plywood. Now again, I was getting bored. If I'd been thinking about it, these bits of plywood would have been cut to size, they would have been drilled, they would have been fitted, they would have then come down and they would have been painted, because it's easier to paint things horizontal than it is to paint a ceiling. Oh, I could have painted it as a ceiling. And they would have gone back up and it'd all be white. Now, as it stands, it doesn't really bother me that the ceiling isn't white. But again, it would have been tidier and it would have been much, much easier to do before I started. Didn't think about that. So, yeah. Anyway, let's have a think. Now, the next bit about the location is space utilization. Now, as I mentioned, I could have gone that way. I could have redone the shelving down here and had at least some tracks coming down here. You're starting to get into, it's a little bit more awkward to get to. So are you actually going to use it? Sort of why I didn't. But in honesty, I'd built the layout really before I thought about it. So, yeah. Other things that I completely and utterly failed to take account of is just how much clutter a model railway generates. I mean, I've got a load of boxes here, a load of boxes there. There's an old PC down there that needs stripping, more boxes. There's obviously all the tooling and so on and so forth. In my mind's eye, this layout was going to be a lovely little layout. The floor was going to be nice and clear. I was going to put some carpet tiles down, which is another thing. I did the carpet tiles in 3 stages. Would have been so much easier to do it all at once. There we go, another little lesson for the future. There are shelves at the back, as you can see. There's actually shelves beyond there. I'll leave it to your imagination how easy getting out those shelves is. The middle shelf isn't too bad because you can get at it from underneath. The bottom shelf's fairly straightforward. Top shelf over there. Good luck. But that's sort of what we wanted. Now the layout itself is nominally 12 foot long. So you've got 3 4-foot sections. And it's 7 foot wide. I was umming and ahhing a little bit about, do I make it 6 foot wide and have this gap bigger here? Or do I make it 7 foot? And in the end, it went to 7 because I wanted those reversing loops in the middle. So it was dictated by what I wanted on the layout, not necessarily what would have been best for using the space. If I'm perfectly honest, having the layout mirrored would have made a lot more sense. It would have made the station shorter because here I've got the extension piece that goes into that alcove. But if the layout had been mirrored, this section, all of these loops would have been over there, and this section would have been angled, and I could have got in there if I'd have thought about it, which again, I didn't. Those alcoves at the back, to be honest, I could have used them. We're going to come on to this when I look at the baseboards, which will be another episode, because I made so many mistakes with the baseboards. But I could have utilised those alcoves. It would have been purely scenic, but they could have been done. Again, I could have taken all these shelves down, found somewhere else to store this stuff. I can store things in the garage. Bits of it are all right. It's just part of it, roof leaks, so I don't. And then we have one of the oh so fun bits. Let's go down here and wander over to the other side. Excuse me a little here crawling. Electricity, or electricery as we call it in this part of the world. Right. That is my power box. I can just about reach over. As you can see, it's got a switch on the side, which I can't reach because there's a layout in the way. It did only used to come to there, and I could sort of reach over. I added a bit to the front. Again, didn't think it through, didn't plan it. This will come to again with the baseboards. This was all supposed to be further back, and there was going to be more space at the front. That plug is what powers Leopard Street, or that cable, and the sockets come to there. There is another plug, which is down here. Now these go to a pair of sockets, which you can just see there. Yeah, now 2 sockets is fine. The control equipment, control computers, they're all driven separately. A few more would have been nice. What would have made a lot more sense, though, is moving them. Because at the moment, they're behind the layout. If they were even just down there, life would be so much easier. I did have some remote control plugs. And they fitted. Then I built the layout. And then I realised I can't take them out, which was fine until they failed. So now I have to crawl under here and flick the switches every time I want to turn the layout on and off. Not ideal. What I would like is some sort of solid state solution for that with relays and probably, to be honest, shifting that entire power box. I'm not going to open it up because it's switched on, it's live. But in there is 3 AC to DC voltage converters. I've got a 15 volt, a 12 volt and a 5 volt. So 15 volt drives the trains, 12 volt drives the auxiliaries and now the turntable, which I didn't think about. 5 volt is logic. I've subsequently split that to have the power bus for the relays is separate. And again, you can see what I mean by clutter. And you can also see the difference in colour floor carpet. That bit was phase 1. The bit I'm standing on here was phase 2. This bit was phase 3. And it's still not finished because there's bare concrete down there. That's a bit I don't stand on. I don't care. So again, a little bit more time would have helped. So if you're planning a layout, one thing I would say before you do anything else, think about where the plugs are. Have you got enough sockets? G5 wanders around again and Thomas is coming around again, giving the outer loop a good clean. But yeah, think about where you've got sockets. Think about have you got enough. What you don't want is like, oh, I've got loads of sockets and they're over there. Because you're now going to have extension leads trawling all over the floor, which you don't want. Trip hazard, not particularly safe, don't do it. Just have a little bit of a think. Because if you need to move sockets around, it is so much simpler to do it when you haven't got a model railway in the way. You can get somebody to come in, you can get it sorted. It's not that expensive. Unless you know what you're doing, get someone in to do it. There are limits to what you are allowed to do in your own home. If you know what the limits are, you're fine. If you don't know what the limits are, you probably don't know how to do it. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, back around this side again. So far, the key one is plan. Think about what you can do in your space. Even before you start drawing out, oh, I could put a layout here, I could have a board this size. Look at the room. What do I need to do to this space? Be it a garage, be it a loft, be it a shed, be it a spare room, all of which are going to have different considerations. What do I need to do to this to make this a suitable location? Bearing in mind, you're going to want this to be somewhere you don't mind going. So loft layouts are all well and good if you can get good insulation, good heating. Otherwise, in the summer they're an oven and in the winter they're a freezer. It can be fixed, but think about it and do it in advance. A shed can be very similar. It can be colder in winter, and they can be even hotter in summer. You need to think about how you're going to manage that. Same with humidity. How are you going to manage that? In a normal bedroom or a spare room, is there anything else in that room you need to work around? Is there like a big built-in wardrobe at one end that you're going to need to be able to get access to? You don't want a situation like this gap here, where you've got a wardrobe over this side. You can open the doors, but you can't then get past it or get in and out. It's going to get in the way. It's going to cause problems. You're going to end up resenting it. Think about it. When I was planning this video, Yeah, I did actually plan this video a little bit. The phrase "cart before the horse" sprang to mind. I spent a lot of time thinking about the layout. As you've probably gathered, not much time thinking about what I needed to do to the space I wanted to build the layout in, as we'll come on to in another episode, designing and building baseboards. So, yeah. So, you may have a lot of situations where it's, I can build a layout here or I can't build one. That's fine. Think about it. Even a simple little end-to-end, something that's going to sit on a desk, a little shunting puzzle, where are you going to plug it into? Is the space it's going to occupy something that's going to be needed for other things? Now, when I built this, I wanted to be able to clear this layout out to use the cellar for other things if I needed to. Basically, if I need it as a workshop, if I need to build some shelves, whatever, I want some space to work in. I've subsequently given up on that idea. Excuse me. Leopard Street does technically still come apart. It's never going to. The next time this layout comes to bits properly is when something seriously has gone wrong, or when I'm relocating it somewhere. But think about it from the ground up. Start with the room. Start with the location. If it's just a spare room, paint it. Decorate it. Doesn't matter what colour you do. Some sort of skyish blue colour can be quite nice. Or like a grey colour. Something that will work well with a back scene over it. You don't want something too bright, too dark, too contrasty. You want it to look nice. Is there a window? Do you need to get out the window? Little things you need to think about before you go mad with a track plan. And again, then we hit lighting. Now, as I say, I would love to be able to do special effect lighting down here. The only way I can do it now is either changing these lights or adding more lights that I can use instead. You might not care. You might be in a bedroom. Think about it. You might want to change some more lights. You might want lights around the edges. Single central light's fine until you're stood in the middle and whatever you're looking at is always in your shadow. Just have a little think about it. Then you want accessibility. Like I say, doors, windows, radiators. Now, accessibility here is quite straightforward. I come around this corner, around here, and I go up those stairs and I go up there into the kitchen. There's hazard striping here because this bit is a tad low, just as a little watch your head. But accessibility is not too bad. How do you get out in an emergency? That sort of matters. Well, here, if I need to, the gas isolation valve is there. I can get at that really quickly. If the fuses trip, yeah, good luck. But I can get to them. I can get under here fairly straightforwardly. How are you going to get in and out? It sounds silly, but think about it. Now, maybe thinking about that is 2 or 3 minutes. Well, I'll just go out through the door. Okay. Make sure you can open the door fully. Classic one is somebody opens the door and you realise you can only open the door 3/4 of the way. You then have to squeeze into a little bit and close the door to get into the rest of the room. That's not going to be easy to get out if you have to get out quickly. And at some point, somebody's going to open that door quickly. It's going to smack into your layout and it will break something. Actually have a plan. Now, this is something I didn't do. Now, I don't necessarily mean a stupidly detailed plan with all sorts of fancy planning software. It can be as simple as this is a list of things I need to do in the order I need to do them. Like, I need to decorate before I do the layout build. I might want to put a socket in, so I want to do that before I decorate. Little bits. When you're doing it, it's worth possibly penciling in what you think that's going to cost to do before you get anywhere near the layout. Just so you've got a realistic expectation that before I can even start building a baseboard, it's going to be 2 to 3 months. Maybe I want to wait until the summer so I can have windows open when I'm painting. 2 to 3 months, it's going to cost me X £100 or whatever it is to do. Do you want to put a new carpet down? One of the mistakes I made is this carpet is grey. These carpet tiles. Got a range of colours. It's brilliant. You drop screws and stuff on it, you can't see them. Little things again. And the purpose of this plan is firstly so you can tick things off as you're doing them. And as you're ticking things off, you realise you are making progress. You also don't get, say, 2 to 3 months in and think, oh God, I'm getting nowhere here. You can look at your plan and go, actually, I'm doing what I said I was going to do. I'm about where I think I'm going to be. It will also help when it comes to building the board to manage your expectations. How much time do you have a week to do all of this sort of stuff? You're then going to get to, like I say, storage. Have I got the space to store stuff? Now, again, if you're upstairs in a bedroom, you may think, well, there's a wardrobe in here. For whatever reason, Great Art Mabel gave me that. I can't get rid of it. Well, brilliant. You just gained some storage area. But also think about the tooling. Think about all the clutter and the gubbins. Have you got somewhere to put it? Now, it may well be as simple as I've got a toolbox and it's going to live on the floor. And there's a few other little cases where I'm going to put drills, saws and all that. They're going to live on the floor. Yeah, brilliant. Again, how are you going to plug them in? How are you going to charge them if they're battery-powered ones? It's having a little bit of a think. Now, a lot of this I didn't do. And as a result, what I did down here took longer than it needed to, because I had to redo things. I mean, the amount of time I spent moving bits of the layout around to get access to up here, it basically took the best part of a day to take the layout to bits, and about 2 days to put it back together again, get it all working. And as you saw in my little J52 video, there's a track join over there that isn't right. I need to play around with. I had to sort a join out over there where the G5 is currently headed. About there. It took time. It caused frustration. I never got to the point of wanting to give up, but I did get to the point of, you know what, if I could start this again, and I've been at that point quite a few times. I've never actually got to the point of starting again. It did occur to me before I built the station, when I know I was getting some problems with bits of track over there that I'm now more, well, I found a way of living with. It did occur to me, should I just pull all this up, put all the points in a box, salvage some of the bits of flexi track, the longer lengths that are all right still, get rid of all the bits that got cut, scrap all of the plywood, several trips to the tip, and start again. I didn't. I'm glad I didn't, but I'm also sad I didn't. I'm sad I just, yeah, things to do properly. We're going to have a look at that one. But that's it. That's going to be it for this one. As I've got a few trains rumbling around. I have done a few more bits. So before I do finish, we'll just have a little look. This is the goods yard. This bit of track isn't connected to anything because this bit doesn't have power. The power will come from this length and I'll solder the joins. So I've got a little dead stub there. The rearmost carriage siding is the same. But those two tracks power up and the three sidings at the front power up. They draw their power from the points. There's no droppers on them yet. But this is the sort of place we're going. I'll shift that camera stand slightly. When I mentioned I needed to put the goods shed on a slight angle, this is why. It's going to be about where this track is. This inner track, it's not in the right place. It's going to be further this way. Somewhere like there. And it's going to turn a little bit more. These wagons back slightly. It's going to be more like that. That's going to extend pretty much all the way around to over here. It's going to curve and it'll straighten out. There's going to be coal staiths and stuff there. The goods shed line is going to come out a bit longer. Not much longer. It'll be a bit longer. So wagons can be pushed through. I'll be building a curved platform down here. This siding is going to be about as long as this. Buffer stops. Then here, I may put a little stub and just extend it to the end of the board. Could put it there, it doesn't matter. The platform that goes here will come out a little bit. I can have an end loading dock there if I want. That's not a bad idea. And I can have a ramp down here or going that way. That's easy. This siding will probably come to about the same point as just a general goods siding. And then the carriage sidings will run on to about there-ish. I haven't quite decided where. But the track arrived, so I thought, I'm going to lay that out. My new little friend is sitting up here with that. I will admit I have been playing shunting. I'm going to do a video on goods operations up here at some point. I might try and get some of the sidings in first. But anyway, that's been this video. Yeah, mistakes I made on this layout. Conclusion, I rushed things and I didn't plan them out properly first. And it's come back to bite me. There are several people who've commented, oh, if you would have done such and such, and I look back at it and think, yes, I wish I'd thought about that. Kelly's commented a fair few times, and I know some people sort of react to those comments. I actually like them. That having the station back there would have made more sense. We'll come on to that with the concept of the thing, but I could have done that. I was aware I could have done that, but that was a conscious decision not to. I wanted a bit that was just purely scenic, and I drive the layout from over here, and I wanted that bit somewhere I didn't have to get to. I wasn't planning on having to crawl under that side of the layout to turn it on every time. Think ahead. Now, those of you with layouts, some of you have no doubt nodded sagely at part of these videos and gone, yep, I did that. Some of you have probably laughed and gone, how the hell did you not see that coming, you muppet? And you are entirely correct. I built Dinglebury upstairs as a test layout, and I learnt a lot about building a model railway. What I didn't learn was planning it. Dinglebury was really simple. It's one board, it sits on a desk. I can pick it up, put it on its side to work on the wiring, and it plugs into a socket that sits next to it. It was really, really simple to do. Down here, turned into a little bit of a logistical nightmare. Anyway, with that, I will wrap it up for this one. I'll be back in the next one, which this one's going out Saturday. The next one will be Tuesday. So the plan for that, I have yet another DTC8, which I want to get built. I'm not going to show building that. That's going on this board. I've got that bit there to redo. That will finish the block detection. And with that, I can run some more trains. So the idea is the next video will be running some more trains to take advantage of what I've done over the weekend. Meanwhile, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good Saturday night. Have a good Sunday. Have a good Monday. And I will catch you all again Tuesday. As usual, likes, comments, shares, etc. are more than welcome. Thank you very much, and goodbye.